Hey guys, welcome to an unusual episode of Double Shot of Steelers, because we're going to talk about draft grades. And those of you who are a long time listeners, viewers, readers, what have you, will know that I am no fan of these things. However, one of the things about our company is that we openly disagree on stuff, as you can see here. So when Chris Halleck says, I'm going to do some grades on the Steelers draft, I don't say, no, Chris, you can't do grades. I don't believe in them. He just goes ahead and does them. And we actually have them at the top of our site right now. And it's a really, really fun, interesting, good read that breaks down each one of the picks and explains why they're either good or bad or somewhere in between relative to expectations. And that's the thing I want to bring up with you today before Chris comes on. Expectations for individual drafts, expectations for collective drafts are set, for the most part, externally, meaning by those of us who are, just very interested parties. We're curious to see how the Steelers do. We're curious to see what kind of players they get. And yes, we are curious to see how their picks rate against where people from the outside, like us, thought they would be picked. One issue with that, I know for a fact Chris will agree with this when he comes on, they have all of the information. Not some of it, not a big percentage of it. They have all of it. They have done their homework up, down, and sideways. Now, does that mean that they nail it? No. Does that mean everybody makes a perfect pick and they all go on to future NFL glory? No, because these are still children, relatively speaking. And situations can change as they do when we were children or with our own children. You just don't know what's going to happen in the future. But what you can do is invest your best resources. Invest your best mind frames, if for lack of a different way to put it. Be open about what you're hearing. Be open to new ideas. Be open to analytics, which I'm understanding that the Steelers are doing increasingly. And go ahead and just take your best players. I'm going to keep pointing out the Jack Sawyer pick out of all of these. That's not the one that anyone's going to talk about, because you know Sawyer's an edge rusher, and coming out of the fourth round, he's going to be he's on the fourth on the depth chart, if that, behind TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Nick Herbig. He's basically going to take the Marcus Golden role or the Preston Smith role, and you're not even going to remember that he's on the roster. He's also a really good special teams guy, by the way. But what happens when Sawyer makes it down there to you relative to where he is on your own big board, not on the outside boards, and you look at that and you go, I don't really care what position he plays. I mean, unless he's a kicker, we're taking him. Okay? And then they did that. That was, to me, one of the clear signs that the Steelers took a more holistic approach to this class. When we come back, Chris will be jumping in.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Mr. Creeps gets us going today by saying, I am huffing Will Howard hopium. That's good. How are you, Chris?
Doing good. How are you?
All right. I enjoyed the grades. I'm glad, because I know you're not a fan. No, not at all. But I would like to have a conversation.
Oh, okay.
Well, about a couple of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to start backward here.
Yeah.
Because as I'm looking at the various, I'm just scanning through the actual grades.
Mm-hmm.
The one that leaps out because it's the most negative grade is Dante Kent, the 7th round pick, the last pick, the corner/punt returner out of Central Michigan. Now, is the grading system skewed because of what it is that you'd expect him to do in the NFL, or is it graded against where he'd be, meaning relative to the rest of the 7th round class or 7th round expectations?
A little bit of both. It's because, no, granted, I didn't give it like a failing grade or anything, but and I gave it just above that because at least growing up, I don't know how things are up here, but in Texas, like if you get anything less than a C, you fail. And so that's why I put it like right on that border of C minus, because I'm like, it seemed like it was, okay, let's take a flyer to see if he can possibly play inside corner, outside corner, whatever. But it seemed like more of a special teams move.
Yeah.
And then also there were some really interesting cornerbacks that, like LSU's Zy Alexander was projected to go like in the 4th or the 5th round, and he was still there. And I thought, for example, the Corey Trice pick a couple of years ago, that would have gotten an A to me, because that is you're using a 7th round pick on a really high ceiling. You're taking a swing. And
with a significant injury.
Yeah, no, and that's why he fell to the 7th round, was because of those concerns. But you're trying to look at it from without that hindsight. You're understanding, okay, there's a risk with the medicals. There's a gigantic risk there, but it's also a really high ceiling pick. And if he hits, that's an awesome use of a 7th round pick. I'm okay with those being a little bit more risky and not being so, let's just take a high floor guy. If he becomes a special teams guy, then it was a good use. No, I'd rather, that's the time to take a flyer on a guy.
Well, on that note, we're about to bring in Dante Kent to throw darts at Chris's poster he has on his wall here. Hello, Dante. What's going on? What do you think of Chris Halleck? Let's put a grade on him.
Let's make sure that I get at least 100-yard start if I'm running away from him, because he does run a 4.38 in the 40. Fast. He's going to catch me real fast.
You also weren't crazy about Carson Bruner, Mark Bruner's son.
That's a fine pick.
Another special teams pick here. You gave him a C. And I see I'm starting negative here because we're just going to work our way upward the happiness scale here. But you're not alone. The more cynicism I've heard from people about this draft has been related to Bruner. Now, a lot of that has just been the standard Facebooky, he's somebody's son, so they took him for that reason.
No, that's not the reason why I gave him a C. Again, it seemed more like a pick for special teams than it did for anything else. Really athletic guy. I'm fine with that, and that's why I gave it a better grade than Deontay Kent. But it felt more like we're going to get a good special teams guy. And I'm like, I'd rather I think it's a better idea to take the high swing picks, the I must say riskier picks, but that's the time to do it, because why is Antonio Brown so revered? Not just because of what he did as a Steeler on the field, but it's the fact that he was a 6th round pick. He went from being a 6th round pick to becoming the best receiver in franchise history. And maybe if he's a 1st or a 2nd round pick, it's like, okay, well, yeah, that was kind of expected of him. When a later round pick, a late day 3 pick becomes something, those are usually the picks, like Brett Kiesel, like a phenomenal use of a 7th round pick.
Yeah, I guess that kind of gets into the territory of, should you ever utilize draft picks on special teams guys as opposed to projecting them out. Now, here's the thing: is when Danny Smith is involved in the process, and you know what Danny's personality is.
Yeah,
I can promise you that he enters the draft looking at only one thing. He's not worried about this, that, or whatever. What he wants to know is how the Steelers are drafting special teams guys relative to the rest of the league. Mm-hmm. So if he sees somebody who he knows can be a special teams ace, and you're in the later rounds, and he said, if we don't get him, Baltimore gets him, Cincinnati gets him, Cleveland gets him. That's when it starts becoming a little bit more competitive than when you get into UDFAs and you're paying $7,000, $8,000 bonuses out.
Yeah.
And you're trying not to break a system there that's in play for the NFL that works really well in terms of running up costs. Nobody wants you to be paying excessive amounts for those guys. It's kind of an unwritten collusion style rule. But when he gets his way, and he does get his way, as Dave Shipley points out, he's smiling after the draft. He got himself not 2 guys, he got himself 3 guys because of Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I see. Yeah. I see the ceiling sense of the draft. I get that part of it. I also understand that you hate to take 7 guys, whatever it is, 6 guys, 8 guys, however many you get in the class, and come out of there with 2 of them, and the other 6 you just throw out on the street.
Right.
So
no, I get that.
That's and as we saw last season, just continuing to play devil's advocate on this one.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I think everybody's forgotten is that 10-3 start was so very much built on special teams. It really was.
Special teams was a big part of it, yeah.
The plays that these guys made, it wasn't just the splash. It was the reliability. It was the boring stuff. It was Boz. It was the punting. The punting was out of this world. Again, all of the coverage. I don't know that the return teams were elite, but they made their own share of plays.
Punt coverage was phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm talking about the actual returns.
Yeah.
Running they weren't great at necessarily at running the kicks back. They weren't creating a lot of splash there. But they were okay. They were okay. And I feel like that year really should have empowered Coach Smith a little bit more. Like, hey, if you want me to continue doing this, you got to make sure that I have this guy back. Don't let him leave as a free agent. Ben Skoranic's got to be back.
Oh, no, they did that.
They did that, right?
They did that. I mean, not only did they bring back guys like Ben Skoranek and James Pierre, who their primary goal, the primary reason why they were brought back was because they're good on special teams, but they also made a signing in Malik Harrison to bring him in to not only replace Landon Roberts, but to kind of be a 2-for-1, also replacing Tyler Matakevich. So, there's definitely been an emphasis early on special teams in this entire offseason. We're going to make sure, because last year it was August and we're like, we don't know who the gunner is going to be or even both gunners are going to be. And it was like, okay, we're going to make sure that's not a problem this time around. And it's not. They've taken care of special teams pretty well so far.
Working our way up here to the various people that got A's and B's and so forth. The A+ in the class, I had a first row seat to see how Chris felt about this one. That was Caleb Johnson, the pick, the second pick, but he used the 3rd round pick, 83rd overall. The running back, of course, out of Iowa. He should have been taken a lot earlier.
Yes.
I don't know that he's in a class with the 2 running backs. Was it 2 that were taken in the first round?
2 in the first round, and then
elsewhere.
Trevion Henderson and early in the 3rd. Quinshon Judkins was even taken before Henderson, which I thought was a bit surprising.
But here's Johnson, who comes in and who appears to have not just the qualities that you want in a good running back, but he appears to have. God, I hate using terminology like this because it sounds so, grab a towel and wave it. But the Steelers like qualities,
Yeah.
Where I think of Steelers running backs from even the recent past, and I go, yeah, that's the guy that I want. Like, you can say a lot of things negative about Najee Harris, okay?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them. What you can't take away from him is that he had a lot of those qualities as well. There's a reason he was leading the universe in angry runs every year. And effort was never his issue. I just don't know that he was all that accomplished or complete of a running back. But he had the Steelers-like personality here. Johnson has these traits. Is where he was picked, Chris, the reason that you gave him the A+? That's what I want to keep getting at with these grades here. Is it about where everyone expected he'd go and where he ended up getting picked?
That was a big part of it. A big part of it was, I would say that was probably the biggest part of why it was an A+. I think if the Steelers still would have had their second round pick and taken him at 52nd overall, I would have probably given it like an A- or something. I still thought it would have been a really good pick because I, not only from my own watching and then talking with people about the class and the running back class, I ranked him out of my top 10 running backs that I did prior to the draft as the 4th running back. He ended up being the 6th running back going because RJ Harvey out of Central Florida even went before he did. I just think with the fit, with the way Arthur Smith wants to run the football, with the fact, we talk about production, we talk about explosion, we talk about burst. He doesn't fumble the football. There's a lot to like about the player. And everything along the line was second round, even in this deep of a class. And you got him not just in the 3rd round, because remember, the 3rd round begins at pick 65. And it was 83 that they took him. We're talking more than 20 picks into the 3rd round, later stages of the 3rd round. This is a heck of a value, and the value alone, it's one of the main reasons why there was another A+ in the grades as well.
Rick says, and this is interesting, he says, why do we put grades on players like this? The grades will be revealed in the next 2 to 4 years. I'm going to actually answer that, Chris, since I happen, or Rick, since I believe what you're saying.
Yeah.
If we put a title on this show today that said, evaluating the 2021 class, nobody would watch it.
Yeah.
That's why. Nobody anywhere would say, oh yeah, I was really wondering what they thought of the 2021 class today, because you feel like you already know. Okay. But just let's have some fun with the exercise here. Steelers 2021 draft class. People are already reaching for their devices to turn the show off.
Oh no, the 21 class is that's the Najee draft. So
okay, Najee. Right now, you don't have any value for him because running backs have a short shelf life. He's out. You didn't get anything back for him. Or maybe you get a comp, right? You get a comp.
Yeah, you'll get a comp for him.
Okay.
But you're not going to get a first-round pick. So,
2nd round pick comes in is Pat Freiermuth. Neither of these two are named Creed Humphrey. And that's all anybody would want to say about the 2021 draft. You know who gets an A+? The Chiefs do for taking Humphrey.
Yeah.
3rd round, Kendrick Green. No.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not even going there.
Yeah.
4th round, here again, you can complain retroactively as much as you want about Dan Moore, but a franchise in the National Football League just handed him $82 million.
Yeah.
So he couldn't have been that bad. Other 4th round pick, Buddy Johnson, long gone. Round 5, Isaiah Loudermilk, about to be gone. Round 6, Quincy Roche. I barely even remember him. Round 7, Trey Norwood, the corner, barely remember him. And then the last pick, the other Danny Smith pick in the draft, was, of course, Presley Harvin. And when you're taking a punter in the draft, you're opening yourself up to criticism. So there it is. Analysis complete.
It's not a great class.
Nope.
Pat Freiermuth earned a 2nd contract. That's a win. Dan Moore earned a 2nd contract, not guaranteed with another team, but he got paid, and he's going to give you a return on your investment because the Steelers are projected to get a 3rd round pick for him, and he was a 4th round pick. So return on investment plus some.
Yeah, what you don't want to do with drafts is just keep losing assets, and then you lose them for nothing.
Yep.
Okay, and especially 1st rounders, and that's the killer between Najee and Kenny, and picks that are in that range that just walk away, you know, or again you'll get some kind of comp or whatever, but you're not getting a 1st rounder. What you want is 1st round value in the 1st round. Duh.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say, by the way, about the grading the draft classes now, I think I even said before I even started grading them in there, and I made sure I made a point to say it, that this is not a perfect science.
Nope.
There's no way to look into a crystal ball and be able to say, oh, yeah, I know Derek Harmon's going to become a perennial all-pro, or I know Caleb Johnson's going to become the best running back in Steelers history. There's no way to know anything and before they take a step on the field. So it's not a perfect science.
J.C. Sheridan says that Najee's going to look good in L.A. He's going to be looking on from the sideline watching Omarion Hampton play football.
Very well could be.
Come on. You don't take Hampton in the first round and then tell him to sit and watch.
No, I mean, he's definitely going to get touches. That's for sure. But, man, if you're like Najee, he's got like a total of potential $4 or $5 million to earn in incentives.
Oh, yeah.
You think he's going to be trying to run for a touchdown every single time he touches the ball?
Slim's got a good question for us. It says, hey, DK and Chris, do you think that this offensive line can gel together this year to give our quarterback time to stretch the field? I have a couple of quick thoughts on that. One, I don't believe that it's about gelling as much as it is about individual performance at this phase of their evolution. In other words, I'm not looking for Broderick Jones to gel with Isaac Seumalo and so forth. Okay, I'm looking for Broad to just be the best player, the best left tackle that he can be. Every set of eyes is going to be there. Every set of eyes is going to be on Broad, on 77 when they get to Latrobe. Okay, you know what you're getting from Isaac. I'm not worrying about how anybody's gelling. Okay. The second part is a lot of it depends on how they respond to whoever the quarterback happens to be. Okay. If it's Mason Rudolph, I think they're going to have an easier time assimilating because Mason's more of a straight pocket guy and whatever else here. Aaron Rodgers has always done a little bit of moving back there, not as much in his older years. But he's
gets rid of the ball quick too.
And he gets rid of the ball, which is going to make all of the offensive linemen look good, right? So if look, I could make the offensive line look good if I'm standing there taking the ball from center and just literally just getting rid of it. Just snap, throw.
Yep.
Like Ben circa 2020.
Yeah, very much. The one thing I do want to bring, because this keeps coming up too, and I really want to help put this in perspective. Garrett says not with Pat Meyer, they won't. Now, let's be fair. Broderick Jones absolutely regressed in year 2. That's not something you want to see. But let's also not forget about the fact that Zach Frazier came in, started right away, and played very, very well. We're talking at times looked like a top 5 center in the league, but probably has already made himself a top 10 center in the league. And then Mason McCormick, a 4th-round pick out of South Dakota State, who was not supposed to be starting any games at all this past year, started a lot of them and did pretty darn good given the circumstances. So let's also remember those things too. Let's try to be as fair as we can when it comes to evaluating coaches and players. I'm not saying that there isn't a lot riding on this season when it comes to Broderick Jones and that Pat Meyer better get the most out of him that he possibly can. Because that has to happen.
I also feel as if, and the Hayden Daddy brings him up here, that Troy Fautanu, he's talking about him staying healthy. I don't know that. I mean, Fautanu's had a couple of health issues late in his collegiate career, and now, of course, missing almost all of his rookie NFL season. I'm not real big on attaching the injury-prone label to somebody based on something that's that soon.
No.
I will say, though, that if you want to talk about what Pat Meyer can contribute to this team, there is a big responsibility on the coaching staff, not just the main positional coach, but all of his assistants and everybody else, on keeping players like Fautanu engaged and learning in the National Football League. You don't see any of that. We don't really see much of it either, but it happens. Calvin Austin, I feel like he took me behind the curtain. He told me a lot about his last year when he was out for rookies and what he did and how he never missed a classroom session. He was in there. He was constantly with these guys. And then he, in turn, passed that mindset along, even though it's a different positional group, to Corey Trice when the same thing happened to Trice. And Trice, by every accounting, just like Cal, worked his rear end off. Now, you don't have to be around Fautanu for 5 freaking minutes to know how serious this dude is. I don't doubt for a second he did. Now that he did the same thing. And it's going to be interesting to meet with him when he comes in and we're able to start doing interviews with these guys. That'll be early next month. And to find out what's been going on with him specifically. But my feeling is, if you're Pat Meyer, you'd better have every button getting pushed 365 days a year to make sure that these guys are as ready as they can possibly be heading into the coming season. Let's see if we have any other. Rod says, but Fautanu was going to start over Broad. Yeah, that was at right tackle. Not anymore. Somebody else says to keep an eye on Nate Herbig. He's gone.
He's a free. Yeah, he was a free agent, but he signed with the Commanders, I think.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah.
Nathan says, hey, DK and Chris, do you guys still think that the Steelers will take a quarterback in round 1 next year? Or will they experiment with Howard? Maybe both. All I know is I want them thrown against the wall. Okay, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered, Nate, before we get to any of that. Like, let's say Aaron Rodgers does come in, and let's say Rodgers is successful. Then the whole big drama is going to be, does he come back for another year? Does it? And then you're going to have to go through that whole thing again. Remember that Mason Rudolph is not on a 1-year contract. He's on a 2-year, so he'll still be back. Howard's obviously not going anywhere. Could you throw yet another quarterback into that mix? Sure. Absolutely. Depending on how some other stuff breaks.
Just to put, let's just say best case scenario happens here. Aaron Rodgers signs, and the Steelers get all the way to the AFC Championship. Let's just say.
Okay. That's not my best case scenario.
No, I'm just saying. Let's just say that happens. He pulls a Brett Favre, goes to a team late in his career, and takes them all the way to the game before the Super Bowl. I'm not going to predict that's going to happen. Let's just say it does.
Yeah.
The Steelers should still absolutely, if they feel like their franchise quarterback is not currently on the roster, go and get your guy. Absolutely. The Chiefs did it when they had a Pro Bowl quarterback in Alex Smith on their roster when he was playing at his absolute best. They traded up 17 spots to go get Patrick Mahomes, coming off of a 12-4 season and winning their division. Picking 27th in the draft. They traded up to 10th overall and went and got Mahomes. Do they win 3 Super Bowls after that if they don't do that and hold on to Alex Smith? No chance. No chance. Go get your guy. And Aaron Rodgers ain't that guy. Even if he helps you win games next year, he still ain't that guy.
Garrett Beckner says, put it up here. Guys, what do we think our day 1 starting defensive line will look like? Well, it depends. Do you mean day 1, series 1, when they take the field? Are they going out there with 2 down linemen? Are they going out there with 3? We can all talk about what their base defense is, or we can look at what their actual base defense is, meaning the one that they use most commonly. That is with 2, although we'll all refer to the 3 as being the base. My feeling, especially after hearing Carl Dunbar, is that you're going to see Cam Hayward, you're going to see Keanu Benton, and then he's going to let the rest of them claw each other's eyeballs out at St. Vincent. But with a favoring, and understandably so, for Derek Harmon to make it a real impact, and to make a real impact right away. You do not draft someone at that position and then say, go stand over there and learn.
Yeah. No, I think whenever you're talking about the when they're in sub package and you've got the 2 interior defensive tackles, it's probably Hayward and Benton right now. But I am going to put Derek Harmon as a really, really close guy. I mean, I think it's going to be a straight up competition that I think Benton gets a bit of a head start based off the fact that he's been there for 2 years already. And Harmon is a rookie.
And 3 downs.
Yep. But I do think Harmon is going to get a legitimate chance to try to get past Benton on that depth chart. But yeah, when you're talking about base 3-4, when they are in there, yeah, Benton's going to kick inside a nose tackle, and then Harmon is the first guy up to be the other defensive end opposite Cam Hayward.
Matthew McKinney comes in with a $10 contribution. Those are always appreciated. Rick Sokol came in earlier with a gift. Our friend Vic came in with 20. He's you know what Vic is? Vic is that guy who walks into the coffee shop, just drops a 20 into the jar and turns around and kind of walks out like, yeah, man, I'm Vic. I can do this.
That's cool.
We'll get to the complete list of everybody who's contributed later in the program. Just wanted to throw that one out there now. Nate says he's even hyped for preseason football at this point. I mean, Chris and I are hyped for OTAs.
Do you know what do you know what my plan is for the preseason? Will Howard better play about 90% of the snaps.
He probably will, though. Think about it.
No, he should.
Yeah.
Absolutely should play. I'm talking maybe Aaron Rodgers, I'm just assuming, maybe Aaron Rodgers gets like one series if he's the guy.
You mean the entire preseason?
Yes, one series. He does. What do you need Aaron Rodgers to do? You signed him at 41 years old to possibly get injured in the preseason?
No, what you need him to do, whether this is in practice or drills or whatever, you need him to assimilate with his with his targets and with his linemen and everything.
That's true. Okay,
I don't know that you need to do that in preseason exhibition football when you have players on the other side who have their ears pinned back looking to make the team. And if they take Aaron Rodgers down in a preseason game, they're going to be, celebrating it like they won American Idol or something. Reiner says, great show today. No more predictions, Chris. Stop that. Give us the winning lottery numbers instead. Yeah, nobody wants they're making it to the AFC Championship game. The barber wants to make sure that everybody touches the like. I want to make sure that everybody sees, I know, underneath Chris's smiling face over there, that's where to become a member, dkps.net/join.
I'm going to make a sign with just arrows pointing down one day.
That's it. That's all you got to do.
That's all I got to do.
It's really easy to become a member. It's not like some of these places is a really hard, involved process, whatever. The YouTube people make this really easy. Chris Dolnak says, except for when Paul Skeens starts, we're getting baseball in shorts. Yeah, he's starting Thursday here, by the way. Is it Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday against the Cubs, the matinee game. I don't know if we're getting a ball game in tonight. Have you seen some of the forecasts?
Yeah, my son has a baseball game tonight too.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. I was about to say it's not looking good.
When the weather pattern is covering half of Ohio, and it's as red as a tomato, the whole thing with no yellow, green splotches, nothing. The radar is just red, and it's coming like this. Your chances playing ball aren't particularly good.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful day, though.
It has been a beautiful day. That's what sucks.
The boy Fade says it's super affordable to become a member. It's the price of a meal at a fast food joint.
It's a lot less than that.
Yeah. What do you get for 99 cents at even the McDonald's? Do they still have the mini
dollar
values,
menu,
super burgers, dollar menu, whatever
it used to be? I remember it used to be called the dollar menu. I guess I'm aging myself a bit here. It used to be called the dollar menu. It's not even called that anymore. It's called the value menu now, because some of the stuff on there is $1.50. Some of it is $2. Sometimes it's $3. It's like the dollar menu used to be literally everything that was on it was $1. Why?
Josh Cook says we're getting pounded here in Canton, Ohio. It's coming your way.
Good stuff.
James Fairfield wants an attaboy. Says, I talked my son into becoming a member. Appreciate that, man. The bigger the family. Robert says it's storming in Indy. Yeah, this red thing is like.
I got to look at this now.
Oh, yeah. It is creepy. You are not going to any ball game. And I don't believe the Pirates and Cubs will play tonight. But then,
my gosh.
I told you. Yeah, it's like the end of civilization.
My Lord. This is a Texas type storm right here. Jeez.
Eric says, even if Mason Rudolph falls short, the Steelers have draft capital and cap capital for next season to go after the best QB in the draft class. One thing I'll say to this subject, because it feels to me like it's one thing for us to talk about it, for you to talk about it, the Steelers, the people who run the Steelers, this is the amount of time they spent thinking about the 2026 draft class. Okay. And they'll tell you that too. You mention it off the record or whatever to them, and they'll be like, why are you bringing that up? The number of things that can change between now and then are so vast.
So much.
Not least of which, let me see if I had this correct here, but isn't Arch Manning like messing around with the idea that he could stay in school?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, so I put that. It's funny because
he's eligible.
Yeah, he'll be eligible. And I put a list together and put it in our feed, but I even said in the list, like, this list is not going to stay the same. I almost don't want to even put one out, but everybody's already going to be talking about the 26th draft class. So I'm like, all right, we'll just put something together really quick. But this list is not going to stay the same because Arch Manning is going to be a redshirt sophomore. There's another guy who's going to be a redshirt sophomore that was on the list. I think it was Levitt. And then you're talking about, there's going to be some guys who are obvious. Drew Aller is going to his senior year. He's obviously coming out of college next year, going to be in the draft. There are going to be other seniors as well, but a lot of these underclassmen, like, it's not guaranteed. That's what happened with Carson Beck last year. But going into the college football season, Carson Beck was the, I think, consensus number one quarterback for the 2025 draft class. He obviously wasn't even in it because he didn't leave college. So it's going to change between now and then. I will say it's definitely on the back burner, but the Steelers it's not completely off their radar either of the 26 class, even the 27 class. They're like, we know that those classes are going to be better. They're not doing all the homework on it right now. That's for the scouts to do during the upcoming season. But it is kind of, they're not blind to it. I'll put it that way.
Let's wrap up in talking about the grades that you assigned here. So everybody, by the way, go read the article. You know, we don't do a whole lot of cross plugging here or cross promotion, but we do have a website, and the website is our actual work. This is like our actual jobs. This thing we just do for fun. Go check out the grades that Chris has assigned here. Out of the rest of these, when I'm looking here, the one that probably jumps out. Well, you know what? I was mistaken earlier when I said that Caleb Johnson was your only A+. There also was one that was given to Will Howard.
Yep.
And I don't know how you can go wrong with that pick, meaning if he turns out to be some sort of serviceable leadership type backup or whatever else, he's still at your most important position, an incredibly high value selection in that round, particularly coming with not only his pedigree and what he did. It's not just about being a national champion. There were 90 kids on that roster who were national champions.
Yep.
It's that he peaked in those 4 games. And in the first half against Notre Dame, the national championship game, he was 14 of 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can watch that whole half, and I have, and you're not going to see one pass there that makes you go, wow, that's phenomenal arm talent, okay? Because they were mostly just these little, not so much dinks and dunks. They weren't 4-yarders, but they were more like.
He threw some downfield.
He threw some downfield and mostly wide and whatever, and guys were wide open because it's college football.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that was impressive was that he didn't miss. Yep. Which tells you so much about the jitter component here. Okay, that is as close as you can come in college football to simulating an NFL game, an NFL atmosphere. All eyes are on you. An entire state, an entire community are pulling for you.
Yep.
And he goes out there and goes 14 of 15.
That's the reason why when I did the Chalk Talk today on Jack Sawyer, the vast majority of the clips was Ohio State's Cotton Bowl game against Missouri, because that was Jack Sawyer going up against Armand Membo, who was just taken in the top 10 by the Jets.
It's real competition. Yep.
Real competition, an actual NFL talent tackle. Like, I could show you what he did against Akron, It doesn't matter because it's
It
Akron.
looks great, though.
It looks fantastic.
You're eating people whole, you know?
But you're not going to see that at the NFL level. I want you to see what he does against an actual NFL tackle. But yeah, the Will Howard pick, listen, as you were talking about like serviceable backup, who was Ben Roethlisberger's best backup?
Over the years, it was Charlie Batch.
Charlie Batch was a second-round pick. If Will Howard...
Charlie also was a starter for a while
in
Detroit. Yeah.
He was. But if Will Howard becomes Charlie Batch...
It's a phenomenal pick.
And that's not even saying like, oh, there's no way Charlie Batch was a backup. Now, he was a good backup. He won some big games when they needed it. None bigger than the game in Baltimore, by the way. That game is like legendary for Charlie Batch's career. I still remember that. Was it Jonathan Dwyer that he sprung with that block? I could talk about that game for hours. That was a phenomenal football game.
I've actually, and Charlie and I have a bit of a running gag with this, but I have simulated with him the Big Ben and Charlie hug.
Oh,
on the sideline. I've done that with Charlie. You have not lived until you've done that with Mr. Batch. As good a man as exists in professional sports, by the way.
Yeah.
The work that he does, some people just do it when they're in the NFL. Some people just do it so that they can win awards or whatever or be lauded. It's Charlie's life. The work that he does in Homestead and Munhall, almost all of which is related to kids and being there for them. It's called the Best of the Batch Foundation. I don't mind giving that a plug all day long. Check it out. They're doing real work in their community. Pie Guy gets the last question for the day, and it's a good one. It says, hey, DK and Chris, if Aaron Rodgers stinks next year, how many games do the Steelers have to lose for Coach T to pull him out? I don't know if it would be about losing games, although that wouldn't help. Pie Guy, I would think it would be and hope it would be about performance. And my answer to you is 17. They'd have to lose 17 games, all 17, for the coach to say, get him out of there. I'm trying to picture any scenario in which, based on everything that we know about the Tomlin personality, that he would say, you, Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, sit. I'm going with Mason. There's nothing in any annal of anything that would have you believing that scenario.
The only thing I would say to that would be, we also didn't think that Mike Tomlin would ever fire a coordinator in the middle of the season, and it happened because it did get bad enough. I mean, it was already bad. It was bad before the season started, but it got really, really, really bad. And he finally got the owner to say, okay, you can do that. You can do it now. And so that would be the only thing. If they get to a point where it looks like the entire season is going to be lost, then yeah, you just pretty much cut your losses and you just start Mason, start Will Howard at that point. I don't think it'll get to that point, but you're talking like it's early November and you've already got 7 or 8 losses, like that type of bad. Like the season, there's no hope for the season whatsoever. I don't know if it gets to that point with Rodgers, though.
Yeah, but then this is another one of these scenarios too that's so lousy. That's when you just become the Jets,
Yeah.
Which is one of the billion reasons that I really can't stand any of these scenarios. Brick says he didn't bench Russ after 5 poor starts, so I doubt Rodgers would get benched. In fairness, one of the things that Tomlin did acknowledge, this was in his post-season press conference, was that he felt it would have been unfair to throw Justin Fields back in after not having really played for 2 months and then say, hey, go win us a playoff game.
Well, that, and then also a lot of that time, Justin was injured. And
yeah,
so
he had the rib thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like he was sitting there 100% healthy on the sideline, just holding a clipboard and like, all right, well, just waiting for my chance. Like, no, like he was coming back from an injury. And so before he gets even a chance to knock off the rust, you're going to start him against the Ravens in Baltimore. I don't know about that.
He'd have to get hurt, TV says, and that is exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I'm not sitting here wishing for it or whatever. He's 42. I don't care how quickly you get rid of the ball. Bad things are going to happen to you when you're in professional sports, in a sport like football at 42. Stuff's going to happen. And, you have to be ready for it. And at least you can say that the Steelers are ready in having Mason there and prepared. And he'll be prepared.
He will be. And that's why you have him.
Matthew says, great show, guys. That's very kind, Matthew. We appreciate everybody being on, and we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow, right? Yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take care of some business today. We are at 2,084 memberships, says the boss. We're aiming toward 3,000. If you're new here, we're aiming toward 3,000 by reporting day, as it's known, at St. Vincent College. That's the day when all the players show up. It used to be the day when the players would show up carrying their giant plasma TVs and everything. They don't really need to do that anymore. They also used to show up in helicopters and construction vehicles and all kinds of other stuff in the Steelers' recent semi-glory days. They don't really do much of that anymore. There hasn't been anybody showboating or anything, but we, on the other hand, might show up in a giant Greyhound bus or something celebrating our 3,000 members if we can pull that off here. Matthew McKinney did come in earlier with a $10 contribution and some kind words. We had a couple of gifts, gifted memberships from Eric. We had Carrie with the always present one. The barber came in with one. Rick Sokol came in with one. And Vic got us going, as he often does, the very beginning of the program with 20. We've had some new members come in today. Ben Thayer came in, and I apologize if I'm not totally nailing these. I take a lot of pride in not mispronouncing people's names, but then the day that the Steelers drafted Y.A. Black, I completely butchered his first name without doing the proper research. I apologize for that. And Vic, after his contribution of the 20 gifts, says, hey, everyone, we got to get to those 3,000 members. It's 99 cents per month membership. That's half the cost of a donut. Is that what a donut costs? Is it $2?
Ready?
For those of us who are watching what we eat, you're talking about donuts and watching what you eat, dude. Those are not similar things. I want to clear up one misconception about the memberships that seems to be coming kind of often. When we have these members only shows or whatever, these are not 99 cents per episode or whatever. The 99 cents covers the entire month of everything that we do on the entire channel. That means Daily Shot of Steelers, Double Shot of Steelers, Scout's Eye with Matt Williamson, Chris's new Chalk Talk videos in that, the Ramon Foster show, which we'll be doing tomorrow. All of that, all of the episodes, all of the everything is just the 99 cents. It's not, I saw somebody in here earlier getting a little bit snippy, so I have to pay you 99 cents to ask you a question. I mean, we're not holding anybody hostage here, as Mike Tomlin might say. We appreciate the support that we get. If you don't, we don't. There's nothing we can do about it. It's really pretty cut and dried in that regard. Checking one last time here for anything else that might have come in. And no, that's it for today. So we are going to call this one a day, and we will be back tomorrow with another episode of Double Shot of Steelers. Thanks for being with us.